our way through if we can.
While there's no tension for the prolific bird life at Baberspan, the same cannot be said for the crews as Grobler and Leek come under starters orders for the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500. 3, 2, 1, and they off with the V6 Nissan engine at peak RPM. Neil de Villiers and Francois Jordan are up next as we go on board the Nissan hardbody super truck. Thick dust envelops the start line and gives a clear indication of the poor visibility crews like the Chepex and the V-Motors Chenoweth will have in the early stages. Thereafter, the action was thick and fast as one vehicle after the other left the start line, sometimes only seconds apart. Lawrence and Para Duplessis are delvers or diamond diggers in the region and know the area and conditions well. A good result was expected from the brothers. Hard-charging newcomer to off-road racing, Greg Dowse, was next away, followed by Lichtenberg 400 runners-up, Greg Harvey and Boy Stone in the Queen Motorspares Jimco. Bodo Berthold elected to drive the first loop and son Gary the second loop and had Stratford Worth to contend with in the Ford Ranger. Disappointment for the Corn Baked Foods team as they're forced to retire their brand new Jimco before the start of the race. Reigning special vehicle champion Shamir Variawa explains.
We've been having problems with the oil coolers. We've changed 4 or 5 oil coolers in the past 2 days. Trying to cool the motor down, but obviously we can't do that. I think it's something to do with the timing as well. Right now it's too late to figure it out because the race already started. But we'll sort it out and be back for the next race.
A muddy section confronts leaders Grobler and Leek, but no problems for them as the Nissan powers its way through the section. On board with de Villiers and Jordan in the second Nissan as they head for the muddy section and also sail through without any problems. Four-wheel drive certainly helps. Chepex, with Francina driving, hold a slender lead over Henry Kirstein and René Juster in the DDS Raceco, with the Duplessis brothers not too far behind in the Porsche-powered Chenoweth. Greg Dowse and VZ van Zyl follow closely in the M&E Glass Raceco. Harvey and Stone would roll their Jimco into retirement soon after the section, fortunately with no injury to the crew. Swift took the high road and avoided the mud. He too would retire early in the race with engine problems. Overall victory has eluded Jacques Joubert and university lecturer Hayes Klein in the Jojo Tanks four-wheel drive Beetle. Could this be their chance? On board with Reiniger and Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser as they enter the muddy section and bury the truck in the mud. Former quad racers Mark and Peter Brekel just make it through the mud. Help should be on its way in the form of Schumi van Vieren and brother Clinton, but teammate Reiniger waves them on. Dominating Class D is more important than losing time by helping the stranded Reiniger. John Moore takes the high line and there's more drama. Cliff Weigelt and Johan Smalberger also get bogged down and right next to Reiniger as almost the entire field goes streaming by. Cliff Barker surely counts his blessings as he passes two arch rivals in the sweet-sounding Barker Performance Products Land Rover. Even Hoppy Reiniger decides to muck in an effort to free the stricken Land Cruiser as help arrives for Weigelt in the former Jean-Pierre Joubert. Eventually, Reiniger's nephew, Hendrik, manages to pull the works Land Cruiser free of the mud, but no such luck for the hapless Weigelt. Weigelt and Smalberger lose a lot more time trying to extricate the N1 4x4 Toyota from the mud before the third N1 4x4 entry of Gabi van Deventer arrives and lends a hand. The rest of the field goes streaming by before Weigelt and his teammates get going again. 90 minutes into the race and a surprise leader. The Chenoweth of the Duplessis brothers has moved from 5th to 1st, but breathing down their necks is the Nissan hardbody of early leaders Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek. They lost their advantage while replacing a flat wheel, while teammates de Villiers and Jordan were effectively out of the running after damaging the steering and suspension of their Nissan in an unmarked Donga. Much excitement for the local population as the Chepex, with Francina driving, arrive on the scene in third place in the immaculately prepared Porsche-powered V Motors Chenoweth. Yaki Hubert and Pace Klein have moved from 11th to 4th and are closing on the leading bunch. However, they would later retire with mechanical problems. Local youngsters wait in eager anticipation for the arrival of the monster vacation van's Jeep of Cyril van der Merwe and Scott Abraham, which has made up a whopping 25 places and was now 6th overall and 3rd in the production vehicle category after only 90 minutes of racing. That's quite some driving from the veteran. Horsepower of a different kind as Schumi van Vieren looms into view in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, a comfortable leader in Class D. Schumi and brother Clinton have been racing off-road since their youth. Bugs Carolyn and Henny Testega have come to grips with the ex-Dakar Mitsubishi Pajero and were content to be sitting in 7th position midway through the first 253-kilometer loop, but had ex-motorcyclist Nick Harpage contend with. 8th overall and 2nd in Class D, Hein Knobler and Gerard Prinsloo in the Nissan Hardbody. A grandstand view of a different kind for some intrepid local spectators. The big Ford Ranger of Woolridge and Skolthammer looms into view in 14th place after starting 33rd. More action on the way. Kirstein and Juster have dropped down the field and now have a gaggle of pursuing vehicles behind them. Class B leader Johan van Jaarsveld, followed by Class D contender Nas LaRue in the Age of Colt, and a hard-charging Arpi Reinecker, who would retire a half an hour later with a broken rear suspension. The Class E battle was being won at this point by Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham in the Works Ford Ranger, which made its debut in last year's Roof of Africa. Tang Makakaneni and Evan Hutchinson started 79th in their Hellman Worldwide Logistics Gymco and had made up 35 places, but were closely followed by Weichelt and Smallberger, who were now faced with having to make up for time lost while stuck in the mud shortly after the start. Camille de Villiers effected running repairs to the damaged Nissan and was now on a charge through the field. Two hours into the race and a large crowd of spectators, service crew and team management await the arrival of the leaders at a road crossing on the Delarevel-Setlagoli Road. Much to the delight of the Nissan management, Probler and Leek emerge from the bush in the lead with the Chepex hot on their heels. Some encouragement from the service crew and the Chepex are on their way. Later complained of getting lost in this section of the route, which explains the dramatic change in the race order, which now sees Carolyn and Testega moving to 3rd place ahead of Greg Dowse and VZ Van Sale. The Bertholds, the Breckel brothers in only their 2nd race in a car, and Schumi van Vieren in the Class D leading Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. The growling 5.9-litre Mopar V8 engine of the vacation van's Jeep alerts spectators to the arrival of Supervan and Abraham, now 8th overall. Johan and Frida van Jaarsveld held onto a tenuous lead in Class B in their prolonged Aceco and were coming under increasing pressure from Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in the Plastotech Raceco. Reigning Class B champion Hill Nell in the Look Truggy has not had matters his own way this season and will have to pull something out of the bag if he wants to retain his title. The service point at Leopan, and it's the Nissan of Hannes Robler and Richard Leek that arrives first with the Chepex in hot pursuit. Mechanics go to work replacing flat wheels, topping up fluids and refueling. Next to arrive is the 3rd place Mitsubishi Pajero of Carolyn, followed by Supervan in the Jeep. The rules call for crews to be out of their vehicles while refueling is taking place, and Van der Merwe looks on as the Pajero heads out of the pits. Then it's back into the cockpit for Van der Merwe and Abraham. Could there be problems for the Woolwich Ford Ranger? Schumi and Clinton van Pieren head for their pit as new Class D leader Hein Krobler cools down, while the service crews give the Nissan hardbody a quick once-over. Back at the Ford pit, concerned looks indicate engine problems for Woolwich and Skuldhammer. Mike Griffith and Duncan Foss arrive in the pits and change places while the crews refuel the Nissan hardbody. Disaster for Class E leaders, Andrew and Chris Birkin in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, a second puncture and valuable time lost.
We've had 2 flats already, and we got into a big convoy and we all got lost, so we lost quite a bit of time. It's been a bit of a rat race, but hopefully it'll be clear now and we should go well, thanks.
4 hours into the event, and Krobler and Leake have a firm grip on the lead with a V6-powered Nissan performing faultlessly. The Chepex, now with France Jr. behind the wheel of the V Motors Chenoweth, continue their dominance of Class A and the special vehicle category. On board with Carolyn and Testega, who are still third in the Mitsubishi Pajero, now sporting a cracked windscreen after a rock-throwing incident. Cyril van der Merwe and Scott Abraham loom into view in 4th place in the mighty Jeep. The front prop shaft dangling loose under the car means that they now only have 2-wheel drive, but that doesn't appear to slow Supervan. John Weir-Smith and Jeff Minnett's consistency in the O'Hagan's Raceco was rewarded with a fine second in the special vehicle category, while the hard-charging Schumi and Clinton van Pieren regained the Class D lead to finish 4th in the production vehicle category. Schilling and Thorne had brake problems from the 150-kilometer mark onwards, but still went on to win Class B. A relative newcomer to the sport, Mark Ferguson, drove consistently to bring the Drinks Galore Chenoweth home 4th in category and 10th overall. Some 2-wheeled homegrown talent in action. Whoops. Into the dying stages of the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500, and it's full of Krobler and Leake in the lead, and convincingly so. The Chepex continue their domination of Class A and the special vehicle category. Carolyn and Testega, still in 3rd place overall, but with their vision hampered by a collapsed windscreen, cannot afford to ease their pace because they know Supervan and the Vacations Van's Jeep are hot on their heels. A rally-style approach to off-road racing from a legend. Piet Haasbroek and Christo Bosch drove superbly to make up time lost when helping Reinicke out of the mud to finish 2nd in Class D in the Toyota Land Cruiser. Reigning Class D champion Hein Krobler had to contend with 3rd in Class D, while Atang Mahanene, in only his 2nd race as a driver, was pleased to finish 9th in category after starting 79th. Victory after 506 kilometers of grueling high-speed racing for Hannes Krobler and Richard Leake in the Nissan hardbody.
I'm very, very glad that we could pull a win off. Especially for the team. They worked hard from June last year to get the vehicles sorted out, and I've had 2 roles from last year till the last event, and I think we owe them something, and I think the morale is going to be a lot higher now at the Nissan camp for the guys, and I'm pleased.
Two starts, 2 finishes, and 2 wins for father and son team Franz Chepex Sr. and Jr. in the V Motors Chenoweth.
The usual story in Baberspan, people removing the markers, the locals, and sending us down the wrong roads, but we never sort of dropped further back than 3rd, and we kept up with the leaders. I lost a bit of time in the pits, changing wheels and getting ourselves going again. Caught up to the Nissan later on in the second loop, and only to get lost again, and then we ran out of the clutch. So we did the last 60 k's of the route without a clutch.
Time for congratulations, celebrations, and a little horseplay.
How old are you?
26.
27.
Combined.